Home brew, gotta love it. Hi guys, it's Craig here again. If you'd watched a few weeks ago, I made a video of the Cooper's DIY homebrew kit, the all-in-one homebrew in a box beer kit. Basically, I took it out of the box and sort of showed you the things that came with it, but I didn't actually make a beer with it. And people have sort of been asking me, can you brew with it? Can we see how this all works? You know, how does this all work? So that's what I decided to do for this video. It's a very simple video, very simple brew. It's not a how to make beer video. It's just how to do it with here, and it's just dead easy. Somebody also asked me if I would mind making a Canadian Blonde beer kit. So that's what I've got here as a Cooper's Canadian Blonde. And with it being summertime, it's a perfect beer for this time of year. Okay. Now on the side of the can, it calls for a box of Brew Enhancer 1. Okay. I'm not going to use that. I decided to go a slightly different route, but you can, just do that if you want. What I've got here is I've got some dry malt extract that was donated to me from Midwest Homebrew Supplies. Thank you very much. I've got 500 grams here. They donated a lot more, but I've got 500 grams here, and I've got some dextrose. Okay, so what am I going to do? Well, normally when you make these kits, like kit and kilo style, you use the can and you use a kilogram of dextrose. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it, right? Sort of a poor man's way of doing it, I guess, if you want. But it makes good beer. It's nothing wrong with it, Okay, but if you want to bump it up a notch, you definitely want to try incorporating some more malt into the recipe. This is fermentable, okay, so it will convert into alcohol just like this does, all right? The problem is that this is slightly less fermentable than this. So if I do 500 grams of this and 500 grams of this, I'm only going to have maybe 900 grams of fermentability as far as the adjuncts that I'm going to be adding to this brew. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add slightly more than 500 grams of dextrose. I'm going to put in 500 of this and 700 of this. Okay, and that's what I did with this beer here, which is my Cooper's Extra. It's a great lawnmower beer. Tastes great. It's got a great malt flavor. Still gonna have a little bit of a kick on the alcohol side as well. All right, so 500, 700. All right, and you can use all dry malt extract if you want. You could use a kilogram or 1.2 kilograms of this. This will equal fermentability-wise 1 kilogram of this, except you're going to get more flavor out of this because it's malt. Okay, so you can use whatever you want to do. Okay, this is just how I'm doing it today. All right. Okay, so we've got that. Our yeast is there. Fermenter. Okay, you've got your krausen collar. You've got your lid. Okay, some people have been asking me, why do you need it to be this way? Well, you don't. You could just brew it with just the lid. Okay, it doesn't have an airlock because it doesn't need one. There's always gas escaping from the beer while it's fermenting. So if it's going to seep out underneath the lid, nothing's going to be able to get into the container while gas is coming out. That's the premise behind this. Not only that, but you've got a CO2 layer on top of your beer because CO2 is heavier than oxygen. So it will hang there like a cloud, protecting your beer from oxygen. And so there's no problem with that. So you could just brew like this, okay? But you're going to get that krausen ring around the side here, as you always get when you make your beer. You know, that ring of brown gunk right just above the level of your beer. And, when you're finished and everything's getting cleaned up and you've bottled your beer, sometimes it's hard to scrub off. And you don't want to be using any abrasive brushes or sponges or anything like that to scrape it off, because if you scratch this plastic, even with these traditional fermenters back there, you put the micro scratches in there from the abrasive scrubbers, you're inviting bacteria. So you don't want to be scrubbing these things. So the whole idea of brewing your beer for, say, 4 days, okay, and then gently, and I mean not like that, because you're going to suck all kinds of air into your fermenter. Gently remove the lid. So this is day 4 after you've put the yeast in, okay? Gently remove your lid, take out this thing here, and just sit the lid back on. You're fine, and everything is still there. The CO2 is still in there, and you're good, all right? Now, with this being only 4 days old, you can easily wipe off the krausen ring, and you're not going to have to scrub anything. The final thing before we start brewing is sanitizing. You know, how do you sanitize this thing? All right, it's, you know, what do you know, normally with those things, you put the sanitizer in there, you snap on the lid, and you shake it all around, and it's good. With this one, it's not perfectly sealed. How are you going to do that, right? Well, I've got my Star San solution here. What I would do, and I'm going to do this off camera, because I want to make sure I do it properly, but I'll just show you what I'm going to do, is first off, I would take my sanitizer, and I would get myself one of these things. A little bucket, a little pail of some sort, or a tray, okay? You pour your sanitizer into here, you take your spigot, you take the spigot apart so it's in 2 pieces, you put it in your sanitizer. You let it sit there for the proper amount of time, you take it out, you assemble it, you put it, you snap it into your fermenter, okay? That's how you do that, right? Then you're gonna wanna pour your sanitizer into the fermenter, okay? Put on your lid. Oh, first put your spoon in there too. Okay, and these things are all clean, right? Put your lid on and then just shake it. Okay, so take it and grab it by the, and just swirl it around like that. Make sure the sanitizer goes all the way up the sides, touches the entire interior of the fermenter. Okay, you might get a few drips out the side because it's not completely sealed, but whatever. Just swirl it around. Maybe do this with it. Just make sure it touches all the insides of the bucket. Okay. So there. Now you're done that. Then what you want to do is put sanitizer back into your little bucket thing here. Okay. So this is done. You've sanitized that. That's out of the way. Okay. So you got your sanitizer in here. Take your lid, just dip it in, turn it around so you get all the edges of it. Make sure it's got the proper contact time, right? And then put some sanitizer in the lid and just swirl it around to sanitize the inside of the lid. You're done with that. This thing, how the heck are you gonna do this? Well, again, if you've got yourself a little tray like this with your sanitizer in it, just put this in here. Turn it in the sanitizer so it gets exposed, and just do this for, you know, a minute or so. Make sure that the sanitizer has enough contact time that it does its job, and you're done. Your whole fermenter, krausen collar, and lid are sanitized, plus your spoon and anything else that you're going to be using. If you're using a different thermometer, whatever. You just do everything inside of there. Or you can, you know, again, you've got your sanitizer here. If you're using something else other than this, sanitize it in there as well. Easy, okay? So, I'm gonna put my can of malt extract in a pot full of hot water to get it heated up, and we're gonna start making this very simple homebrew using the new Cooper's DIY homebrew kit. Okay, let's get going. Okay, sanitizing is finished. Let's make beer. All right, got my kettle, some boiled water here, and with my spigot closed, make sure your spigot's closed, pour some boiling water into the fermenter. So I'm going to get my dry malt extract, and I'm going to add it to the boiled water. Right in. 500 grams of dry malt extract, okay? Now, take your thing and swirl it. If you're using dry malt extract, this is the best way to get it to dissolve. Otherwise, it'll turn into rocks, little balls. I'm gonna add my dextrose. I know, some people, if you don't wanna use dextrose, just use more dry malt extract, okay? If you can afford to buy it in your area and it's cheap, then definitely use it instead of dextrose, okay? It's up to you. Mix that in. It's a beer kit. You guys see me do this many, many times, so it's not rocket science. And what I like to do, because I'm a little bit of a sanitizing freak, is take the can and actually sit it in the sanitizer. You've got that tray of sanitizer. Just sit in there, let it sit for a few minutes, well, 30 seconds or whatever, just to make sure that the water that you were warming it up in and, you know, things didn't have bugs in it. You just don't want to introduce any outside contaminants to your beer when you're making it. That's all. So just be as careful as you can. It's the easy home brewing series, guys. All right. All right. Let's get that off of there. Awesome. Pour that in. See? And you can kind of see what's going on. Well, yeah, I think you can. I can't see what you're seeing, but this fermenter is relatively transparent, so you can sort of see where we are. Okay? You want all of it. I've said this before. You want all of this stuff. It's very concentrated. Okay, so you want it all, if you can help it. So just give that a little stir. That's hot. I do it every time. I forget. And there we go. Right? Boom. Got it. Okay, so all we have to do now is give it a final little stir here. Make sure it's all mixed up good. Put our Krausen collar on. Let's get the spoon out of the way here. All right, those things shouldn't be there. They're not interfering with it. Then we'll just top it up with cold water. Okay. I'm just using tap water, but you can use bottled water if you want. Our tap water is fine for brewing. I don't have a problem with it. You know, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing, you know, so far it's the same as all the other kits I've ever done, right? But, you know, we'll let some time pass, let this ferment for a little bit, and then we'll show you what we do after about 4 days. Okay, we'll sprinkle in our yeast. Now what I usually do at this point is I sit the lid on. And I just leave the yeast to sit on top of the foam for about 10 or 15 minutes. Sort of, it kind of rehydrates itself, you know, with the foam on top of the wort there. And then I'll go in and I'll give it a stir it into the beer. Okay, that's what I do. All right, well, we've got 23 liters there. Make sure your temperature is as close to 22 degrees Celsius as you can get it. Mine's at a nice sort of 23 degrees Celsius, which is good for me. All right, so that's gonna go for about 4 days. We'll come back in a few minutes through the magic of video, and we'll take that Krausen collar off and show you how we do that as well. Take this all the way to the end until we actually bottle it or keg it, whichever that is. We'll do an actual taste test of the Cooper's Canadian Blonde beer. I'm looking forward to it. It's supposed to be a good beer. I don't think I've tried it before, believe it or not. So. Well, it's a beautiful night, and it's about, I don't know, 90 degrees out here Fahrenheit, 30 Celsius. And this is the time of year where you like a nice Pilsner style beer. And that's what I made here with this Canadian Blonde. I put it in this bottle because all my Cooper's bottles are full of other beers. So I've got these nice flip top bottles, but you use whatever you've got. You know, Cooper's ones come with the kit. Let's give this a pop here. Wow. That's great. Let's see what we've got. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. Maybe a little too much on the head department. Look at, can you see? Look at the carbonate. Oh, I gotta bring this up to the camera because it's another, the lighting out here is bad. I hope you can see that. It's, yeah, see? Look at how clear that is and how carbonated. Beautiful. Great stuff. All right. So this is it. This is Canadian Blonde we just brewed. Let's give it a try. It smells nice. Oh, wow, that's good beer. Really nice and refreshing. A very basic beer. Again, it's just a blonde beer. Kind of like what you would expect from a Budweiser, but it's better than that because it doesn't have those weird. I find that those beers have kind of like a dirt flavor or something about them that's, you got to drink them really, really cold. Although this is pretty cold. This doesn't have those kinds of dirty, kind of weird flavors that the Budweisers and the Old Milwaukees and all that stuff has. This has a cleaner taste. So I'm really happy with that. So there you go. That's how you use that new DIY Cooper's fermenter. It works. The beer is not infected. Some people are afraid of the fact that there's no airlock and that the lid just sits on like that. Some people just put, and you guys can verify this in the comments if you know, some people just put saran wrap over their fermenters, the elastic or something. It's really not crucial that it's airtight. There's enough carbon dioxide inside that thing, sitting on top of the beer, that, you know, it's not going to hurt it, okay? So, yeah, it works. This is the third beer I've done with that fermenter, and there's been no problems. So, try the Canadian Blonde beer, if you're Canadian, or if you're not Canadian. It's a beautiful summer beer. Get it on there now before it starts to get cool. You'll have this ready in about a month if you get it on right now. Look at my recipe on my calendar at craigfaraway.com. The recipe, the date is here on the screen. Go to that date, look at the recipe, how I made this, and do it. It's great beer. Cheers, guys. See you in the next video. Take care. See ya.